Hello everyone and welcome to The Times with David D'Onofrio. This is our first show here at the new LoudounTimes.com and we welcome you. Joining me today is Nicholas Graham, Editor-at-Large at the Loudoun Times-Mirror. Nicholas, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, well, let's jump right into it, Nicholas.
Sure.
There's no way around it. We're in the middle of the budget season. Public input sessions are coming next week. It'll be the first opportunity for people to stand up and say what they think about the $1.40 rate that's been advertised by the county administrator. What are your thoughts? What are you hearing? What's going on?
Well, this may be a dog bites man story because nobody should be surprised about the current state of where we are right now. I think that we've seen inklings and glimmers of it for many months now.
Right.
So it's very clear that the county has a lot of very serious challenges. These are challenges that have continued since last year. A lot of things have changed since we've gone from that $1.14 rate that we had 24 months ago to now what's being proposed is $1.40. But
That's quite a jump in
two
short years.
In 2 short years.
Or 2 long years.
Take a look at the economy from 2 years ago compared to now. That's also very different. So you need to factor that into account and also factor into the account that we have hundreds of people who are moving to the county every single week. We have 3,500 more people that are enrolled in our schools this year. We have no stimulus money coming from the federal government. In addition to that, we have social services, the pressures that are growing. So all of these things taken into account in addition to the big thing, which is home assessments going down. Home prices going down is really creating an imperfect storm for everyone.
It is. Now, last year, home prices generally went down across the board in the county. Obviously, there were pockets and fluctuations. I think the interesting factor this year is that there are a lot of large areas that are seeing average or increasing home assessments. Broad Run, there are parts of Blue Ridge and Sterling. And that combined with a tax rate of $1.40 is going to be big dollars out of their pockets into the county and a big jump.
Right, and unfortunately what we need to compensate for is again a growing county and a deepening economic picture both locally, statewide, as well as federally. The growth of the county is important, the growth of the school system, no stimulus money, all of these taken into account just has grown that budget gap a little bit more and we can't make up the difference, which is why we're now looking at a 5% tax increase over last year in order to compensate. And you know, there's been a glimmer of good news that came just recently when Governor McDonald decided to unfreeze the local composite index, which would have cost our school system approximately $34 million, I should say. And that's probably all the good news we're going to see for quite some time.
Don't you feel we're kind of like the gerbil on the wheel going round and round, or the Groundhog Day? We seem
the
to be
gerbil's
going,
getting old and the wheel's broken, but yes.
Right. We're reliving each difficult year in the budget process. I mean, what are some of the things that are out there that could change the dynamics of the Loudoun County budget? I mean, what are some of the radical ideas that might be worth considering this year and moving forward?
Well, I think one of the things that, first of all, it's very interesting to me. If you look, I've spoken to people in the town of Leesburg and the town of Purcellville. Mayor Bob Lazar has done a great job managing the finances of Purcellville. He's managed to keep the tax rate steady. There's a lot of growth out there, but just look at that as an example. The town of Leesburg, another great example. Very fiscally responsible, prudent measures being taken there. Tax rates are being kept down. They've got, I think, $15 or $18 million surplus. That's a word we haven't heard a lot of. Surplus.
No, not these days.
Now, given that towns don't have something that's called the school system that the county has to take care of.
That's a big thing.
To me, the school system is the one thing which requires serious structural reform in our county to get us out of this year after year, starting off in the red and trying to work our way back up to zero. I think that they need to consider zero-based budgeting, so they're not just working off of last year's budget. They need to start from scratch every single year.
And that's what zero-based budgeting would be, starting
exactly.
Throwing last year's out, starting with a fresh piece of paper each and every year.
They also need to find a way to deal with the growth in the school system and enrollment. And one of the things that is a serious impediment to our budget process is the debt that we're paying on school construction, which is totaling tens of millions of dollars every year. That's just the interest that we're paying on the school debt, which I think is somewhere around $110, $120 million. That is just going to continue to grow until I think FY15. So we're going to be in this bucket every single year, but the school budget needs to be zero-based budgeting, and in addition to that, the whole school system itself. I think we need to have a blue ribbon panel to take a look at how we dismantle the structure and build it back up again to deal with what is a very new Loudoun that's growing more and more every year.
It is a new Loudoun. And well, Nicholas, thank you very much for joining us for this segment of The Times with David D'Onofrio. Please stick around. As I said, Chairman Scott York will be joining us. Well, welcome to The Times with David D'Onofrio. Joining us today is Chairman of the Loudoun County Board of Supervisors, Scott York. Chairman York, thank you for joining us.
Pleasure.
I wanted to kick off with, obviously, as the snow is melting, hopefully more and more each day. What's the status of the county? Are you guys feeling like you're dugout, and what is the impact potentially on the budget or any of those matters?
Well, we are getting dugout. We're pretty much there. We just got a few rural roads that we're still concerned somewhat about, and it's just one of those things. We need some warmer temperatures to get some of the melt. Fiscally, we are still totaling that all up. It will be significant given that we basically had staff in overtime mode from Friday a week ago through all last weekend and this weekend getting things taken care of. We have declared an emergency situation locality just as the governor had done for the state, and so hopefully we'll be able to recoup all or some of what we have expended in order to manage the storm.
Well, it's been unprecedented for the area for sure, and it's been a very solid response from the county. So,
my hat's off to all, from VDOT to our departments, fire and rescue, and as well as all the various agencies who have handled the situation, and they did an outstanding job reacting to a situation that was very unprecedented for this area.
Well, segueing into other unprecedented areas, the budget, the fiscal year 2011 budget. We're talking about some public input sessions next week. The first chance that the public's going to get to comment on the proposed budget. The county's put out a rate of $1.41 potentially, I believe.
$1.40.
$1.40, beg your pardon. What are you expecting next week from the public? What's the reaction that you're expecting as they come before the board?
I think the reaction is probably not going to be much different than what we've seen in prior years. You'll have those folks who will come out and say fully fund the school board budget, and that they're willing to accept the hike in the tax rate. There will be those that will come out and say that they don't want an increase in the tax rate overall. What I do see a little bit differently this year as opposed to years past, the intensity of those that are feeling the pinch and the nervousness about the increase impact of any bill will have on their household budget. And it's not only resorting to the nervousness of what we do and the culmination of what's going on down in Washington and not knowing the impact of what they may do that may cause the raise in increases. So we have a very difficult situation that is in front of us. There is no question. Last year we reduced the budget from the previous year by $200 million, and we may be looking at very dramatic cuts as well this year in order to have a balanced budget and a lower tax rate than is proposed by the county administrator. And so it is a question for us to decide as a board, decide as a community, what levels of service do we want. And for the general side of government, do we want to make deep cuts in fire and rescue, law enforcement, and parks and recreation? And then the question is what do we do with the schools?
Right, which is the elephant in the room, right? 70% of your budget or thereabouts.
Unfortunately, with respect to growth in the community, despite the economy, we have grown. Last year, we grew by about 3,200 students in the school system, and we will grow by another 3,200 students this year in the system, and by about overall growth in the population by 10,000. And so we are growing at a time when we've cut the budget dramatically last year and may have to look to do that again this year as well.
You were at the press event on Monday for VIP Baseball, which is, full disclosure, I work with the guys at VIP. So 3 names: the Blue Heron, the Silver Stars, and the Hounds. Any favorites in those?
I lean pretty much towards the Hounds. I think the Blue Heron, why it is in recognition to the fact that there is a heron rookery there along the Broad Run. There's just not enough, for me, not enough oomph for a name of a baseball team. The Silver Stars, I understand why that is being proposed in recognition to our military folks. And then the Hounds, I think there's a lot of creative ideas that come from the Hounds. So my proposal would be simply to name the team the Hounds, given the three that are put out there, and then name the stadium the Silver Star Stadium.
Well, there you go. All right, well, thank you, Chairman York, for joining us
It's a pleasure.
today. It's been a wonderful sitting down and speaking with you. This has been The Times with David D'Onofrio. Thank you for joining us at the new loudountimes.com.